Okay, so far today, what we've been talking about is change. And in particular, these 10 Uber trends that I've described, and how those together are radically reshaping our world and our work. And what I'd like to do now is move to the next step of our analysis and talk not just about change, but also about the implications of that change. That is what it means to you and I, okay? And so the implications are at least as important as the changes or the trends. So, and then the other thing is we see this familiar pattern. So there is a change or a development that happens, and then right after that, almost immediately, there's some consequence. Something happens that has meaning for us or changes the way we do what we do. So let me give you an example for a minute. Think with me about the tractor. Got that picture in your mind? So the tractor shows up, and the implication of this development is obvious right away. Farming becomes a lot easier, right? You can do more of it with less effort. The farmer is happy. But in the second order, there are implications that aren't quite so obvious. As soon as they start thinking about how to better leverage the technology of the tractor, it becomes obvious that what I need to do is get a bigger piece of land. And ideally, that land would be flat and not have trees on it and not have rocks on it. And so by the 1850s, we have a very large migration out of New England to the Midwest. When farmers get to the Midwest, the farms get bigger, and the tractors get bigger, and the business gets bigger, and agribusiness is born. And before long, there are implications about the food itself. Food has to evolve and be different because it has to be transported longer distances. You with me? See the second and third order implications of the original technology? Not long after that, the family farm itself comes under fire. And eventually, most of those family farmers go out of business. They move to the cities, and some of them immigrate back to New England. So we have change, and we have the implications of the change. And we could do this analysis with all sorts of different technological developments. We could talk about the printing press in the 1500s. We could talk about locomotives, steam locomotives and railroads, and how that transformed our world in the 1800s. And of course today, computers, information technology, again, a trend that's radically reshaping our world and our work. So what are those implications that we're living with today? Well, one that I think is really, really obvious is that technology is changing connectivity. Yes? How we are connected to one another and the big global platform is being really radically transformed. That's a first order implication of that technological development. In the second order, and I think really rapidly behind this, I would say is collaboration. That is, what is it that you and I do together after we get connected? So the very nature of collaboration is changing fundamentally. Now, what comes after all of this? Well, that's a little bit less clear because those third order and fourth order implications are quite often less obvious, but also quite often much more important. Let me give you some ideas about the sorts of things I'm thinking of. Connectivity, collaboration leads to perhaps what I call disassociation. I mean disassociation of work and place. Will it matter less in the future where we are relative to where our other coworkers are, our teams, or where the customer is? Disassociation. A second idea would be what I call atomization of the supply chain. See, progressive organizations more and more are beginning to look at the whole range of things that they do and focus in on just the good stuff, where they create real value, and then figure out how to do the less valuable stuff in different or innovative ways, or outsource that, or perhaps not do it at all. Atomization of the supply chain. Another thing we might think about is the paradigm of the corporation in general. The corporation is an aggregator of talent, as a localizer of place. Will that matter as much in the future? Or are we instead headed towards, I don't know, a world with millions and millions, maybe billions of independent contractors and consultants and freelancers? Yeah? And then the final thought I have is around marketing. What does marketing mean in this fast future that we're looking at? See, today, as we are connected ever more intensely together, it's much easier for me to talk to you or to talk at you, but so much more difficult to figure out how to get you to listen, to pay attention to me. That makes sense? So we have change and we have implications. And the implications is where we start thinking about how this impacts our business. All right, stay tuned. More to come.